our Chesapeake, who is 24 years old, and she was our first dolphin born here at Dolphin Discovery, and she's hanging out with her daughter Bailey, who is our youngest at 8 years old. So if you come to some different sessions, you get to see some of our other dolphins as well. Now this session, like I said, they all have different themes, and this one we're going to talk a little bit about adaptations that dolphins have. So I'm going to highlight something that you guys are seeing going on right now. You might see a syringe with a tube that we're giving our dolphins. Now what's in that syringe is some filtered fresh water. Now does anybody here think that dolphins drink the water that they swim in? Does anybody think they drink it? Some people, yeah. Does anybody think they don't drink this water? And some people, do you just not know? That's okay. It's kind of a trick question, but they are mammals, so dolphins don't drink the water that they swim in. It is salt water, and they would get dehydrated if they drink it. So one adaptation that dolphins have is they actually get all the water that they need from the fish that they eat. Now we found, through years and years of studying them, that they actually can benefit from having extra water in their diet just like us. So to supplement them, instead of giving more and more fish, they would just get really fat. So we actually give them more water in the form of a syringe, which we train them to drink. So that's really good that they can get some extra water in their diet. Now I already told you guys what dolphins eat. So dolphins eat fish. Now they have evolved in different ways in order to help them hunt those fish. So like I mentioned, they are mammals, and some of those characteristics are really important to them and how they evolved to live in the ocean. So they have some really cool adaptations on their bodies that help them to survive. And one of those things is obviously those fins that they have. So they have a dorsal fin on their back, and the purpose of that is actually just to help stabilize that body. So it's kind of like the keel of a sailboat. It helps keep them nice and stable and not tilt in the water. So check them out as they come on by the windows. Jane's going to pose for you right over there. Now that dorsal fin keeps them stable, then they have those pectoral fins on the side. So it's the pectoral fins that actually help the dolphins steer as they're swimming. So that's how they steer to control which way they are going. And lastly, they have that fluke on the end, that tail fluke. Now that is a very, very powerful part of their body. Now if you look right at that fluke as they come by, there's a very large muscle that's called the pectoral. And that's where they get all of that power from. It's moving that tail up and down. That is how they propel their body and get all that speed. Now, why do dolphins need to be fast? They need to be fast because they hunt fish. So fish are fast and dolphins need to be faster. So dolphins can swim really fast. They can actually swim up to 25 miles per hour. So that's really fast. If you think about people, most of us swim about 2 miles per hour. I think Michael Phelps said he could do 5 to 7 miles per hour for a short burst. But dolphins can sustain the speed for a really long time. So you can check out a little bit of that speed as she comes on by. Very nice. So that is what allows them to help catch those fish. But aside from being fast, they also have to be smart as well. So they can't just chase them. They have to be able to outsmart them a little bit. So dolphins have learned some different ways that can help them hunt and catch those fish a little bit more efficiently. Now one of those ways is something called bubble netting, and that's where dolphins work together, and they blow bubbles, and they surround fish with these bubbles by startling them. So once they gather these fish into larger groups, they can actually kind of pick them off a little bit more easily. So they do this by working together. You see, I think she's going to show you some bubbles. Okay. She's not showing you some bubbles yet. You see one of them now. Alright, Jane on the other side. Or actually, this is Maya coming around. Oh, she's going to show off her swimming instead. That's very nice, Maya. But dolphins, I think Nani's going to show you guys. So she's going to come out to the center, and you can see what it looks like when one dolphin blows bubbles. But if you can imagine a lot of dolphins working together to blow these, so Nani's going to come around, and you can see those bubble bursts as she goes. So you guys on this side got to see it. But if you can imagine a lot of dolphins working together to do this, they can really startle a lot of fish. So it's all dependent on them working together. Nani's a little confused on that. Very nice. So that's just one way that dolphins have learned to evolve to that. And I think Maya ways around the world that dolphins have learned to work together, and some have learned some really specific ways that you only see in that area of the world. Now, one example of that is off the coast of South Carolina. There is a pod of dolphins who have learned to use the very shallow area of the shore to corral fish and be able to pick them off a little easier. So our girls are going to show that in our shallow area in the center right there. Now what happens is they work together and they all come up onto the shore, landing on their right side every time. Now once they strand those fish on the shore, the dolphins are able to eat them. And that is really good. So this pod of dolphins has learned to do this, and they always hunt like this. Now we don't see this anywhere else in the world. So it's something that's been passed down from generation to generation, and it's really cool if you ever get to witness that. It's something very interesting to see. We don't know why they would land on the right side, but we do. Now there's another pod of dolphins off of the coast of Western Australia that does another similar thing using the shallow areas of the shore. So now I'm going to show you this. Now this time, instead of stranding yourself, they actually hydroplane. So what they do is gather those fish really close to the shore. The dolphins hydroplane themselves across it, and they're able to more efficiently get those fish. Now fish can't move very easily in really shallow water, but as you can see, dolphins can. So dolphins can actually do that in as little as 1 inch of water. So they really have the advantage over the fish if they corral them on the shore. So that's something that you see off of Western Australia, and that's another really cool way that they have learned to hunt more efficiently. Now, like I mentioned, these things have been passed down from generation to generation. So dolphins communicate with each other, and it's very important that they pass this information down. Now they learn from their moms, so they can learn through mimicry or through these vocalizations as well. Now dolphins have a lot of ways they can communicate, so they're going to show off some of those sounds that they can make with each other. So now he's going to show off a little bit of a squawking sound. And that is Julie. And that was not again. You can hear a lot of differences in those noises. So they can make a wide range of noises from squawks to clicks to whistles, all these different sounds that they can make. And those actually all come out of the blowhole on top of the head. So there's actually air sacs behind that blowhole. And by changing the shape of those air sacs, they can manipulate them and make those different sounds. So that's really cool. And that's one way that dolphins can pass on some of that information. Now there's other ways they can communicate, and that's using body language. So there's different things they can do with their fins. They can slap the surface, they can jump, they can leap. There's all sorts of ways that dolphins can communicate with each other. So that's one way, is slapping that surface like that. And they can use that fluke as well. And Nani's actually learned a behavior that is a natural behavior called a breach. So a breach is behavior used in communication. And a breach is when a dolphin or whale comes up out of the water and they slam a surface of their body onto the surface of the water. Now that can be used for hunting as well, but it's also used for communicating. So like I said, this is a natural behavior. Nani naturally knows how to do this, but we're trying to train her to do it so we can put a hand signal with it. So we have to break it down into small steps to teach her what we're trying to ask for. So what she's learning is a back reach, so she's going to land on that back when she comes up. Very nice. So like I said, this is something that Nani would think Nancy already know how to do. But since we want to train it, step by step, we have to show her exactly what we're asking for. So Gretchen is using that target pole up in the center there and guiding her where to go. Now this is a little bit of a newer behavior, but she's starting to understand how she needs to move her body. Let's see if she tries it now. And that works really good. So what Nani needs to do is come up out of the water, and she wants to land pretty flat on her back. So that works really good. Now some of our other dolphins here already know this behavior, so once Nani's done working on it, we can show you what it will look like when Nani is finished. So I think she's going to try one more time. Typically with our learning new behaviors, we'll do a few approximates at a time during a training session. So we'll see how she does this. Very good. Now Nani's really big, so she's going to place a lot Jays.